All right. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. It is December 4th, Saturday, December 4th. Hope you all are having a great weekend so far. I know I am. To answer some of your questions in the chat, I took last night's show down because I knew that the things that we were talking about, YouTube would take us down and give us a strike. So I took it down. It is now uploaded on Rumble. It is also uploaded on Podbean. So on Rumble, if you have not been able to find the link, just go to libertywarriornation.com, scroll down the page, and down toward the bottom of the page, there is a Rumble link. If you click on that, it'll take you straight to Rumble, and then you can subscribe to Rumble as well. So any dangerous videos that we do that certain keywords are said or certain topics that we're talking about that we know that YouTube does not like, I immediately take it down. I download it into my computer, and then I download it into Rumble. So I push it all over there. So if you didn't catch last night's show, it is up on Rumble now. So you can find it over there and on Podbean. So if you don't know what Podbean is a podcasting platform. There's no video, it's only audio. But the audio is really clean and crystal clear. I really like Podbean. It's basically like listening to the radio. So those are the two places that last night's show are at. I'm also streaming right now across 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm only doing that for a couple more minutes because I'm trying to put material up on 4, 5, 6, and 7 so it's easier for people to find us so they can subscribe. So I know that I got about 67 people over there on channel 4. Just to let you know, I'm taking it down here just in a few minutes. If you enjoy the outdoors, you enjoy hunting and fishing, you want to join us this morning, you can hop over to LWN Outdoors on YouTube, and I don't know if Bonnie or who's in chat if they can drop the link, but it's on YouTube. You can also find us on Facebook at LWN Outdoors on Facebook. Um, this is just a channel here Saturday mornings that we don't talk about politics. We don't talk about what's going on in the crazy world we live in. We discuss the outdoors. We discuss hunting and fishing and creating memories and the joys that we all have when we're out in the woods or we're out in the parks or the lakes. And so that's what this show is about. Thank you, everybody on Channel 4 that has joined us this morning. If you're new to LWN Outdoors, that's what it is. That's what it's all about. Again, we don't talk about politics here. We don't talk about anything that's going on in our world except for the outdoors. So, what does that pertain to? That pertains to metal detecting. Me and my brother like to pan for gold and look for gold. Hiking, fishing, hunting, camping, you name it. Anything in the great outdoors. That's what we talk about on Saturday mornings. It's kind of my outlet. It's kind of my therapy for the week after talking about all the other stuff. I enjoy being in the outdoors. I enjoy hunting and fishing and camping and all that stuff. So this is a way for me to kind of unplug from it all. Think about all the great memories I've made with my dad, my grandfather, my mom, my brothers, my kids, some of my best friends over the years. So it's a little bit, honestly, this show's a little bit for me to kind of unplug from all that stuff I talk about, all week long. So I hope it's the same thing for you guys. A way to unplug and just kind of relax on Saturday morning, have a cup of coffee with me. There's my cup of coffee. I know it's only 9 o'clock here Mountain Time, and I know on the East Coast it's 11, getting close to noon. So you might be past the coffee stage, you might not. But good morning. Good morning and good early afternoon, I guess, for you guys. Hey, Hawkeye. So I'm getting ready to kill those feeds right now. So if your screen goes black and says this video is no longer available over there on channel 4, um, the channel that we're on is LWN Outdoors. Good morning, Alan. How are you, brother? Let me grab. I don't know if I can grab that link from her. Anyway, Bonnie, I don't know if there's any way for you to jump over on channel 4 real quick and put the link in, but I'll wait a couple of minutes if you can. If you can jump over to channel 4, Bonnie, and drop the link to LWN Outdoors, that'd be great. I know there's still about 60 people in there right now. I'll wait a couple more minutes. I want to give everybody a chance to get over here if you choose to. I'd love to spend Saturday morning with you. I see Shane in there. Okay, Shane says it's in channel 4. All right, thank you so much. Again, I'm going to go ahead and kill 4, 5, 6, and 7. For those of you who are looking for 4, 5, 6, and 7, I'm just trying to throw some material up there because it's easier to find. I was actually able to find and subscribe to myself to channel 5 last night. I could not find 6 and 7, so that's why I'm trying to throw some material over there so that gives it a little bit of traffic, and you guys can find it. So I'm going to go ahead and kill those feeds. So everybody over on channel 4, if you want to join us over here at LWN Outdoors on YouTube, that's where we'll be this morning. Love to have you. Love to hear your stories. People send in photos and videos that we play here on the show of their fishing trips and hunting trips. So if you're into that, we'd sure like to have you this morning. Jump over here to LWN Outdoors. All right. We'll say goodbye to channel 4. I got to turn off 5, 6, and 7. We got one on channel 6. All right. Well, whoever's on channel 6 right now, I'm going to kill the feed. So you might want to jump over here to LWN Outdoors. It's good to have you over there. There's probably Shane. He's probably over there. All right. I don't know why my Facebook feed is not working. For LW or yeah, for LWN Outdoors, I don't know why that Facebook feed is not working, but it's not. That's all right. We'll go ahead and roll. All right, here we go. So, oh yeah, channels are definitely being restricted, but that's all right. We got all kinds of. We're so far ahead of the game on these people. Bring it. That's all I can tell them. Well, we always really get into hunting pretty heavy here. First thing in the morning, we get into it and we stay on it for quite a while. So I thought I'd change it up a little bit this morning and start off with our fishing segment. I know we've talked about it a little bit over the last couple of weeks. I know I've had some photos sent to me, nothing super recent, but how are you guys? How have you guys been doing last couple of weeks? Is fall setting in? The leaves are around here pretty much all off the trees around here. Very few leaves on the trees. I noticed a couple of the ponds and stuff around here were starting to kind of ice over. And then it warmed up for the last 2 days and melted the ice off. But the ice around the ponds, my dad's house and neighbor's house, was kind of starting to get ice around it. I talked to my secretary yesterday in North Dakota, and her husband is he's addicted, absolutely addicted to fishing. He loves catching northerns. And I've gone fishing with him before, and it's a lot of fun. And he is so excited. He's so excited about the ice fishing coming up in North Dakota. Temperatures up there yesterday were right around 21 degrees when I talked to my business partner up there. And it's going to take a minute to freeze over those lakes to where you can get out there. But I would say probably within 6 more weeks, he'll probably be out there fishing. Here, I'm excited. I'm excited for ice fishing because I'm gonna fish Lake Cascade. It's on the other side of the mountain from me. It offers perch and I believe trout. I'm not 100% sure on the trout, but I do know that they catch perch in the wintertime ice fishing. So I'm looking forward to taking my dad. I'm looking forward to taking my kids if they want to go. Um, I've got all the gear. I'm ready to go. I've had it since I was in North Dakota. Um, let's see. We've got crappie fishing is now done for the season. Shane says they're in Oklahoma. The crappie are moving to the shallow water here, Shane. Okay, so sounds like the crappie go inland a little bit as winter sets in, not so far out in the deep. Um, yes, on the trout. My dad says there is trout in the Lake Cascade. Smallmouth bass are my favorite to catch. Absolutely, Brian. I love smallmouth bass fishing too. So when I ice fished in North Dakota, we'd try to be somewhere around 20 to 14 to 20 feet for the walleye. Um, the northern seemed like they were in a little shallower. Seemed like we were in about 8 to 12 feet of water for the northern. Uh, the the walleye were a little deeper. As far as crappie fishing, I don't know if I've done much crappie fishing on the ice. Um, I told you guys a week or two ago, and I took last week off. I just needed a break. I'm not really getting a whole lot of help over here on this channel, so I needed a break last week, and I told you guys a couple weeks ago that maybe one of my winter adventures is going to be to go up to a high mountain lake somewhere if I can get to it through friends on machines. Get within a mile, I would say. I'm probably not gonna go any further than that, but within a mile, and I'll have a toboggan. I think I'm gonna invest in some snowshoes, and I want to experience kind of snowshoeing and going into a high mountain lake somewhere where I know there's some beautiful trout, beautiful cutthroat, and some, you know, am I gonna do it by myself? More than likely, I would say there's probably a 95% chance that I will do it by myself. Um, would somebody go with me? I don't know. There's a few people that have said that they wanted to do something similar to that around here, but that's the problem. Is there's a lot of talk and no action. So I learned a long time ago. If you want to do something, especially when it comes to hunting and fishing or an adventure, just plan it for yourself. If somebody comes along, great. If not, um, you'll sit there on the couch and wait forever. And I'm tired of sitting and waiting. So I'm going to plan something like this. And if somebody wants to go with me, great. If not, I'm going by myself. I'm not going to let life pass me by any longer, waiting for somebody to join me, whether it's female companionship or a best friend or my father or my brother or anyone. And I know my dad would probably go. I don't know how enjoyable it would be for him to be up there in all the snow and the cold. Um, but, you know, and it would be kind of a neat thing for me to kind of do on my own anyway, a spiritual thing, a connection with God. Um, I've been out on the ice in North Dakota many a nights by myself because people would say, "Oh yeah, I want to go," and then bail on me. And I already had everything loaded up in the rig, and I just drove out there and set up. It was very peaceful. I set my little tent up. I had my heaters in there. I drilled my holes. I fished for hours, and then when it was time to go to bed around 11, I just put little bells on the tips of my poles. I had a cot, so I was up off the ice, rolled into my sleeping bag, had a good book, started reading my book until I started getting drowsy, and then I doze off in the tent, and it was like being inside of a small cabin. It had the glow of a cabin. It was very warm, was not cold. Just had to make sure that I had a full propane tank to get me through the night. And then if I'd get a bite, I'd hear it, the bell would start jingling and I'd hop up out of bed and grab the pole. So I'm not afraid to do anything alone. Like I said, it's probably one trip this winter I want to do alone. I want to be by myself in the woods. I want to be by myself up on the lake. That's a spiritual thing. Reconnect. But it would be nice to go and have company as well. Yeah, Sherry. I just put the intro to this on 5, 6, and 7. I noticed I think, about 127 subscribers on 5. I don't know if anybody's found us on 6 or 7 yet, but they've got a couple of videos up. So good luck. We'll put those up on the webpage here this next week, and I'll have Tara send it out in an email. I'll have Tara send out the links in an email so you guys can find them. We got some work to do. A good hot tent works for us woodsies. All right. Good morning, Rhonda. All right. So yeah, that's again, I know I talked about it a couple weeks ago, but I am really looking forward to some ice fishing this year. And then the spring run comes for salmon and steelhead, so I'm going to try to do some fishing with my dad this next spring, north of me here on the Salmon River. So I'm looking forward to those two things a lot. And then of course we'll be back to summer 2022, and I know for a fact my dad and I are going to do a lot of bass and crappie fishing. That's a must. That's an absolute must. And then I see Travis is in the chat. I still got to reach out to Nilson and go stripe bass fishing with him. I know we got some friends down in Texas, and I'd like to make it down there and go fishing with them, go bass fishing with them. And then we got some people over in Louisiana that I've reached out to, and I would like to go over there and do some fishing, maybe some frogging, shrimping, crabbing, all the fun stuff. And so I don't know where you guys are at on your fishing and what you got planned for the rest of 2021, or what you have planned for early 2022. If you guys do any ice fishing, if there's any kind of fishing that you like to do during the winter months, I'd like to hear about it. Hey, there's my aunt. How's it going, Aunt Jeanette? I'm sure you would like to go ice fishing. Well, maybe we'll get together. I know Lake Cascade, it's not super cold. So maybe we'll have to get together one of these weekends and we'll all go over there, and I'll try to teach you how to ice fish. Let me see. Debbie has sent. Oh, that is beautiful. All right, Debbie, I'll show those photos in the second hour. I'll show those photos in the second hour for the hunting section. Those are beautiful. Beautiful. Tell us a story of fishing stories. I bet you have caught some good. All right, I'll tell you a fishing story. I know I've told a couple of them here about my little brother and my dad and I fishing, and my brother, I think, at least twice has caught probably state records here in Idaho. And when he caught them, my dad was the person that had to get them off the hook and put them in the basket, in the tub, whatever. And it seemed to work in my dad's favor to lose both of them over the side of the boat. So that definitely upset my brother, but accidents happen. So I know I've told those stories before. I'll tell you a story about my grandfather. Yeah, Hawkeye. I definitely fish with my little buddy to keep me warm. And in North Dakota, they set up ice fishing villages, um, hundreds of them, 200, 300 people all in one spot, all on the ice with their ice shacks. I'm sure it's the same up north in Minnesota and Michigan. And I'm a thinker, and I was just thinking one day when I was out there fishing with them, like, man, I should bring out a little meat wagon out here and set up. I could probably sell tacos all day long and burgers and beer, shots of whiskey. And cigarettes and probably make a whole lot of money out there on the ice. So, um, all right, we'll see you, Shane. We'll see you. Okay, so here's the story about my grandfather. I'd like for my dad to call in. I'll drop the link. I'd like for my dad to call in and tell a story about my grandfather too. He's got a couple of good ones, so I'm going to drop the link for my dad. I know he's in there. But this is a 50-50 chance. This is a 50-50 shot for my dad. When he calls in, it's 50 to 50. It's 50-50 whether he can figure out his mic or not. Sometimes he calls in, I can't hear him. Sometimes he calls in and he's loud and clear. So there's the link, Dad, if you want to join me. So here's a story that I remember about my grandfather and fishing. So my grandfather lived in Humboldt County. He lived in McKinleyville, California, on the West Coast, North Cal, not this San Francisco stuff. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, North Cal, you're from San Francisco." No, I'm from North Cal, which is way north, right up next to Oregon. That's north to me. San Francisco is not quite north, but a lot of the Southern Cal people call San Francisco north. Um, so my grandpa lived for fishing. He worked hard. He went to church every Sunday. He paid his tithe, paid his taxes. He was a good man, and he lived for fishing. He lived for hunting too, but more fishing than hunting, because California destroyed a lot of their hunting there. So he stuck to the fishing. And I spent 2 summers with my grandparents working for Grandpa, trying to earn enough money for school clothes. And I remember one summer I went there. I think I was about 12, and he used to like to fish the Klamath River, that runs through Northern California into the ocean. And I don't know I've told you guys many a times about my grandpa, where um, he was really a no nonsense fisherman, in my opinion. He had one goal and one goal only: to get there, to get there early before everybody else, to get a line in the water and to catch fish. There was no messing around. There was no dinking around. There was no trying to find something in the morning when you're supposed to be on the road. There was no messing with your lines when you get to the location. There was no messing around. He was all business when it come to fishing. So the night before we go fishing, we would always have our poles all rigged up. He had multiple poles. Um, he knew every body of water like the back of his hand. He knew exactly what time of year to fish it. He knew exactly the right lures or bait to use. And so it didn't matter what time of year or what body of water we were going to. Whatever Grandpa picked, we went out in the shop and we rigged up the poles. Yeah, Blue Lake is beautiful, Aunt Jeanette. Um, I love Blue Lake. It's beautiful there. And so, he'd have probably about a dozen poles. You'd get 2 or 3 yourself, and he'd have me rig them up, and he'd tell me what to use, and I get in his tackle box, and then they go in the camper shell of his truck. And most of the time we'd take a boat. Sometimes we'd take his little pram that was really light. It was like a plastic boat. He called it the pram, and we could throw it up on the camper shell of his truck, strap it down, and then a battery and a a little battery operated trolling motor, and we'd take that to some bodies of water. And if we went to a bigger body of water and wanted to troll for trout and use Ford fenders, then we'd use his little blue boat that my dad now has. But it was the same deal. We had to rig everything up and have it ready either in the boat or in the truck, most of the time in the truck. And 4 o'clock a.m. would roll around, and this is Pacific time in California. And I'd usually stay out in the trailer, his camp trailer, inside the shop, and I'd be asleep. And I'd try to set my alarm. And sometimes I'd be up when Grandpa would come bang on the door, and sometimes I wouldn't be up when Grandpa would come bang on the door. So I'd hear a knock on the door, whether I was up or not up, and he'd open the door and step up into the trailer, and he'd say, "Hey, you ready to go?" And I miss that. Grandpa is he's no longer with us. He's in heaven. But so I get up, I get dressed. It's Northern Cal, so it's not like South California where it's 65 degrees all the time or warmer. Northern Cal has an average temperature about 55 degrees all year long, all 12 months. Averages out to about 55 degrees. If the fog sets in, it kind of gets a little chilly, around 40s or so. So Grandpa used to wear long johns all the time. I dress warm in layers. I get up. I'd go into the house. He'd already beat me to the cereal. He always liked cold cereal. He used to love grape nuts. So I'd come in. He'd already be eaten, pretty much done. He's raring to go. I'm holding this guy up. I'm 12 years old. I went back when I was, I think, 16, and he's raring to go. He don't mess around. He's no nonsense. We already got everything rigged up. We're ready to go. He's waiting on me, so I have to hurry. And I grab a banana. I grab a bowl of cereal real quick and devour it as quick as I could because he's getting antsy. He's ready to go, and we'd always try to hit the road by 4:30. Now, most places that we would go, I'd say probably about an hour's drive, maybe a little longer at times. Um, and he drove pretty quick. He's no nonsense. He don't dink around. He don't mess around. Rarely do I ever remember having to stop and get fuel in the morning. Grandpa was so planned when it come to fishing. It seemed like he always made sure the truck was full of fuel the day before. He used to always keep his truck full of gas anyway. I remember that. I remember him telling me, it costs the same amount of money if you keep your tank full as it does if you keep your tank empty. Meaning, you can nowadays, if I had to fill my truck up and it's on E, it costs me what, 60, $70. But if I fill it up when it gets down to a quarter or so, it's gonna, cost me 20. But you do the math, you know what he's talking about. So my grandpa always believed in keeping a full tank. Always. I don't think I ever seen the gas tank run down below half, except for when I was on road trips with him when we'd go across state lines. So he's waiting on me with breakfast, and I finish breakfast, and I grab my jackets and my coat, my gloves, my hat, and all my stuff, and we get out. And I have to open the gate to the back property for him. It's just a little chain link fence gate, and he'd back up or pull out, and we'd either have the boat hooked up or not have the boat hooked up. And I'd close the gate, hop in the front seat, and away we'd go. And heck, I don't even know back then if he even required me to wear my seatbelt. And we'd head north to Klamath. Again, it's probably it's right around an hour-ish, an hour, roughly. Um, we'd get up there and it'd just be breaking day as we'd pull up, 5:30. It'd just be breaking day, and he all he cared about was getting that line in the water. That was his main goal. You can't catch fish if you don't have a line in the water. You can't catch fish if you're too busy trying to rig your pole when you get there. You can't catch fish if you're just preoccupied. Back then, there were no cell phones really, um, so it was all about the fishing. And we'd roll up, and um, he'd get his raincoat on most of the time. He was always prepped for fog and for rain. He'd put his hat on, grab his little jersey gloves. He loved jersey gloves. He'd buy those things by the hundreds. That was his favorite fishing glove, was jersey, the brown ones. He'd always have a pair for me. He'd pop open the door to the camper shell and start grabbing gear, start grabbing poles, and down to the river we'd go. And he had his spot that he liked to fish. He knew exactly what to use. And we would fish until we limited out, and usually it was right around two apiece. It really didn't take long, to be honest with you. My grandpa was really good at catching fish, so it wasn't like we had to spend all day there to catch our limit. Um, it really didn't take long, a couple hours maybe tops. We're limited out, but the best part of it was when we'd finish. Um, a couple hours, 5, 6, we're into at 7, 8 o'clock. Um, if he had friends there, we'd stick around. He'd talk to them. He'd help them fish. If we get anywhere around 11 o'clock, around the 11th hour, I got excited because I knew what that meant. I knew Grandpa was getting hungry, and I knew that there was this little place on the side of the road, a little restaurant. It looked like a little single wide trailer that they turned into a restaurant. It was kind of back off the road a little bit, big trees all around it. I mean, it was shady. It was greasy. It was grimy. It was clean, but it looked like it could be like a grease spot. And those are always, in my opinion, the best places to eat. And I knew, hey, if we can make it close to that, we're stopping. We're going to stop and get something to eat. And so, sure enough, the 11th hour would roll around, and Grandpa's like, well, let's get going. We'd hop in the truck. We'd start down the highway, and he'd look over at me and go, are you hungry? Well, of course, I'm a teenage kid. I'm always hungry. So I knew that this little place was right up the road. And sure enough, I'd hear the blinker of his old Ford pickup click on, make that little sound. It was a 1988 two-wheel drive beige tan Ford. I think he liked the big motor in it, so it probably had the 460 in it because I know it was a gas guzzler. And he pulled his camp trailer with it and everything. So I'd hear the blinker, and I'd see the little grease spot up ahead, and I knew, all right, we're going in to get a burger. So we'd pull in there, and I was excited. I'd get out, we'd go in and sit down at the little bar thing, the counter there, and the lady behind the counter, she was like Flo off of what was it, Laverne and Shirley. Anyway, real bubbly, real happy. You could tell she was a smoker. I would be shocked if I didn't have ashes in my meal. She smoked in the restaurant. This was way back in the 80s, 90s, early 90s, late 80s. And then, of course, she'd always ask me what I'd want. And the first thing I always wanted was a milkshake. I always wanted a milkshake. Loved milkshakes. Still love milkshakes. And we'd order our meal, and I'd get the biggest cheeseburger that I could find on the menu. And, of course, Grandpa would always ask me, yeah, Mel's Diner. You sure you can eat that? I said, oh, absolutely, Grandpa. I'll eat it all. And I did. I ate the burger, the fries, the milkshake. Um, and that was our day. We get back to the house. First thing we do is I'd hop out of the truck as we pull up to the gate. I'd open the gate. He'd pull into the backyard, and he had a really neat little off to the left. As soon as you pulled in front of the shop, right off to the left was his little cleaning area. It had a spigot there. It had water. It had a sink. It had like a little cutting table there where you could fillet fish or process your fish. Had a little trash can underneath, and then he put this little roof over the top of it with some I think it was corrugated. It wasn't tin; it was that corrugated plastic stuff. Anyway, he put a little roof over his head because it typically would rain, to keep the rain off of him, and that was his little area that we would go to as soon as we pulled in the driveway. There was no doing anything else. It was always process your fish first, get it ready for the freezer. And so that's my story for today about my grandfather. And I've got lots of them. I've got lots of fishing stories with my dad. I don't see him here. I dropped the link. So anyone else that wants to hop up here real quick, tell us a story. I'd love to hear it. I almost lost my finger one time fishing with my dad down in the valley out on a lake. I'll tell you that story real quick. It was just me and my dad and his little, 12-foot Starcraft. It had a Sea King motor on the back of it. It was summertime and we were fishing, and Dad would always pull the motor up and lock it in position because we just kind of float around, put an anchor down, but we'd still kind of float around. He'd always pull the motor up to make sure that the prop didn't get into rocks or weeds or break the fin off or anything like that. Hold on, Dad. I'll bring you in just a second. And he was kind of dozing off in the front of the boat, taking a little nap. Fishing was slow. And I told Dad, I was like, I think I'm ready to go. So I was going to drop the motor down, and you had to you had to grab it with your left hand, kind of pull back on it. There was a little lever there that locked the motor in place, and you had to pull the lever back and then slowly let the motor down. I must have been, I had to have been around 11 or 12. So I struggled to pull the motor back. I put my finger down to pull that release lever, and I let the motor go too quick. And when I did, my finger was there, and it damn near took my finger off. It was pretty bad. It was bleeding everywhere. Dad woke up out of his little slumber and raced me into the shoreline. And yeah, it was that fishing trip was very painful. How's it going, Dad? You there?
Good. I'm here.
Right, we can hear you this morning. So here's your 50-50. You're on the other side of that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I remember that trip. I can still feel the pain myself when you tell about it.
Yeah, just about lost my finger on that one. They could have called me three fingers Mike or something like that. They could have gave me a cool nickname.
4-finger Mike.
4-finger Mike. Well, you got 3 fingers and a thumb.
Okay.
So if I lost one of my fingers, then I'd only be 3 fingers.
Okay.
3 fingers Mike or something like that. I could have got a cool nickname out of it.
Yeah.
Aunt Jeanette says she loves you. She's in the chat right now. Anyway, do you have a story you want to share about one of your fishing trips with Grandpa?
Yeah, I do. Just thinking about one of the years that we had a family reunion down by Riggins, and your brother Wes was just a little guy. He was 3.5 years old, and this family place where we had this family reunion was back up off the road a ways and had a pond. They had a private pond there, and your grandpa and you boys and I went down to that pond fishing with your brother Wes was fishing with my 8.5-foot fly rod, and he cast that fly out there on the pond, and he hooked the fish, and that fly pole was just bowing double, and your grandpa was telling him, keep your pole up, and Wes told him to start backing up, so Wes started backing up while he's cranking all the time, cranking the handle on the fly reel, and he keeps backing up, and he trips over this rock and almost fell down, or did fall down, but he kept that pole up and got back up, and he landed that fish, and it turned out to be a 15-inch trout, and I was proud of him, and your grandpa was proud of him, and I think that was probably his first fish he had ever caught. But it was definitely a nice memory. Yeah, oh, that's right. We had to, and that pond charged, I think it was 10 cents an inch for the whatever fish you caught. So, but that was definitely a time that we'll always remember about the fish your little brother caught.
Yep, I remember that too. I remember him tripping and falling over that rock. I remember at that family reunion, the lightning strike on the tree.
Oh yeah,
the tree down.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Yep. So I definitely remember that trip for sure. I'll give you a chance to tell one more story about Grandpa and fishing, especially the story about how Grandpa. I like the story about how Grandpa really wasn't a fisherman. You know, that you kind of introduced him to that whole thing up on Baldy.
Okay, yeah, that was.
Tell us that story.
Yeah, so my dad was, like Mike said, was in his younger years he loved going hunting. It was in his later years that when he didn't get around as good that he started liking fishing more than hunting. But so we were back. Where I first took him fishing was back in Colorado. We had some cousins that lived up on the Continental Divide, and so we went out that day. Him and I did fishing this little creek, and we were catching brookie trout out of it. And that night they had a fish fry, and they brought a platter to the table of fried fish, and it was just heaping over with fried fish, and they were fried golden brown, and was really quite tasty. So that was back in July of 1963, and ever since that time, he took an interest in fishing after that, and fished for 40 or 50 years after that time. And but that's where he got his first interest in fishing, was him and I fishing that little creek in Colorado.
That's a neat story, Dad. Thanks for sharing that. Good morning, Hawkeye. How are you?
I'm good, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing well. Just sharing some memories this morning about Grandpa, and I seen a few stories in chat, and I got some photos to share for the next hour. But it's just a good morning. How's Iowa treating you?
It's bizarre. You were talking about ice fishing, and we've had a couple of nights that have been in the 20s, but the days have been like in the 50s, and this is just unseasonably warm for our area. But I got a good story. My grandpa was a fisherman's fisherman. He was a farmer. He was an engineer. He served in World War I, and a good day for him. He would fish. He would fish no matter what. Yeah, it could be rain, it could be snow, it could be. He just loved to fish. He took my uncle, my dad, and me out on the lake one day, and I was 7 years old. It was 1964, and I remember being out there, and you were talking about doing some damage to yourself. So I'm 7 years old, and I got pretty good ability to cast a reel. I could cast, I thought, pretty damn good. Well, I didn't realize we were in just a flat bottom boat. We were all casting out, and my grandfather loved these red and white poppers that had treble hooks off the back of them. And we used to fish a lot kind of on top water, fishing for bass and stuff. So I remember coming back, go to cast my line, and it's just like nothing's there. And all of a sudden, my dad just yells at me. And so I stop real quick and I turn around. I had caught my uncle almost in the eye with a friggin' treble hook. And it took them, I don't know, it got behind the bone, but it didn't get into his socket. And so it took them about 5 minutes to work that out. Oh my God, I never felt so bad in my life. Never. Oh my God. It was terrible. I thought I killed him.
Good morning, Monty. Wow. I can honestly say I've never caught a human, but I've come awful close several times. I've come awful close to being caught myself. So
yeah,
it's a dangerous hobby at times. If you think about it, fishing on the ice is dangerous. Fishing fast moving water is dangerous. Casting around people or being around people casting is dangerous. There is some danger to it. That's for sure.
Oh my God.
I know I've said this on the show several times, but I gotta tell just a part of Grandpa because my best friend made the mistake. I made the mistake once. I always tell people if Grandpa has got a Ziploc bag full of photos, stay away from him because if you don't, you're going to be there for a couple hours. And he used to take Polaroids of every fish he ever caught. He put the date on the back and what they were. And if he ever had that bag out that he'd keep behind the seat of his Ford pickup and you stopped by and ever said, "Oh, what you got there?" You're done. You might as well go ahead, plant your ass in a chair somewhere or on the tailgate and sit for 2 hours because he was going to go through every one of those photos and he was going to tell you every story to every one of those photos. So my best friend did it on my graduation. When I graduated, he walked over to my grandpa and he says, "Hey, Mr. Poff, what do you got there?" Boom, that was done. I walked off. I left and I came back 2 hours later and my Sean was still there and Grandpa was still telling stories. So that was just a part of Grandpa. He carried that Ziploc bag around everywhere he went. And if he ever wanted to talk fishing, he had receipts for every one of those fish he caught.
You see that?
Yep, I got it.
Okay. So that's the tents we fish in, and that's on Lake McBride. And then
yeah, I got one. I got one just like the blue and black one, but mine's all blue. It's the clam. I got the clam, and they're nice. They're easy to set up too. For those of you who may consider going ice fishing, you don't have to spend $400 on a tent. They've got them cheaper than that. But my tent, I can set up the way that they've got those things manufactured. If the wind was not blowing, I could honestly set that tent up in less than 3 minutes. It'd take me another 5 minutes past that to set the anchors in the ice, especially in North Dakota when the wind would blow so hard. You'd have to tie your tents down and anchor them to the ice because the wind would blow them away for sure. But those things are so quick and so easy to set up and take down and put back in the bag. It's truly a very nice design for those tents. And very warm too, right, Hawk? You can, if you got,
my God. Oh
if
my
you
God.
if
Yeah.
you put a little buddy heater in there in one of those thermal tents, honestly, you could almost sit there and fish in a t-shirt. That's how warm they get.
This is the inside.
Oh yeah. Yep. That's just like my setup. Got my little buddy heater. Got my hole in the ice. What size of poles do you use? Because I bought the little, I don't know, they're about 2 foot. They're not very big. You know what? I got all that stuff out at my dad's house. I think next week I'll go grab that stuff and I'll have it here when we do the show next Saturday, and I'll show people my poles and some of the gear that I use.
Let me Shane was talking about crappie. That was what we got that day.
Oh, look at that, Dad. You see that mess of crappie he's got? Look at how fat those bodies are.
Is that crazy?
Yeah, we love crappie. We love crappie here in Idaho.
Oh God, crappie's the best.
There's a couple of little perch in there too.
Yes. We've got a little lake. My dad used to take me to it when I was a kid. It's called Lake McBride, and it is stocked full of crappie. And we use these little tiny, they used to call them back in the 60s, they used to call them crappie killers. And they're just little tiny, they're small hooks. They're little tiny chrome bodies with little tiny chrome spinners on them that come off both sides. And used to have to put quite a bit of weight on them just to get them to cast out far enough. But man, they would just nail those suckers. But if you want to catch crappie in this area, that's where you go, because they're all over the place, and you know they're good eating. Oh my God, they're incredible.
Oh, my dad dropped out. My dad dropped out. You keep talking. I'm going to turn my camera off for a minute. I want to grab something and show you what I crappie fish with. I have it right here above my head.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I'll tell you, you guys out there that have never ice fished, get online and look at some of those videos. I'll tell you what, when you get out on the ice to begin with, you're usually out there with heavy ice, and it's got a layer of snow on it. But when it starts to thaw in the spring, and you still have you still have pretty heavy ice on it, and even in the wintertime when it warms up a little bit, that ice will be clear as glass, and you walk out on it and you think you're going to fall in. It's just, I mean, you think you're walking on water. It's so clear, when that ice gets clear.
Yeah. So here's something that now it's
on
going to be
on a river, it's a little different, but on ponds and lakes,
it's probably going to be hard to see in the camera. But this is like a little Chad, right?
Yeah. Is it? We fish with those up here. Is that the rubber ones?
Yeah, it's rubber. It looks like a little baby rainbow trout. Now let me share something.
Yeah.
Let me share something that irritates me. So my dad and my brother and I found similar ones to this that were made by. I think Dad can put it in the chat. I think it was Grids. I think it was GRIZT. We used to buy them. We used to buy them at Buy-Mart all the time, right? Now, these things were so amazing by about late May, early June, all the way through till about August. I used them pretty much all year round, but especially the summer months. We would go down to the Snake River and we would fish Brownlee, Oxbow, Hell's Canyon with these little jigs. we just put them on a jig hook, put them on a bobber, sometimes no bobber, and just jig them back and forth. We'd put them on a bobber, put some power bait, some crappie nibbles on the hook. And these things, we'd catch crappie, bass. We'd knock the hell out of them. I caught catfish with them on accident, probably, and a trout, but crappie and bass for sure. One summer, we were down there fishing in the boat, and we only had so many of them. We caught so many fish. That the fish's teeth were tearing it up, right? It was tearing the skirt off the hook.
Oh yeah.
Well, we ran out of them. We ran out of the skirts. So I was taking the old skirts, and I had a lighter in my tackle box, and I would sit there and catch the skirt on fire, and then take my thumb. I'd burn my thumb, but I'd kind of squeeze it and push it back together and try to melt it. I'd try to melt that skirt back together to keep fishing, because we didn't have any more skirts, and we were out. So I was constantly trying to melt my skirt back together to fish. This is the problem. This is the irritation that I had. These things were so popular that probably in the last 10 or 15 years, they quit making them. So now I spend my time every time I'm in Bi-Mart, Walmart, anywhere I'm at, and I'm always trying to find these things right here. This is as close to the original that I can find. But that original was so amazing. I don't know why they quit making them, because I've caught thousands of fish on those. Here's another style that's kind of like a gold black, sparkly gold. But you couldn't beat those things, not on the Snake River. I probably could have made $1 million off of selling those things. Just sit down there in the summertime, and as the fishermen come in their boats, I could probably sit there in a little booth and say, hey, if you want to catch fish, buy these right here. And I probably could have been a millionaire. That's how good those things were. It's no joke. Those things were.
We use those. We have some that look like shad, and they're gray top, white bottoms, and they're a little bit thicker. I mean, they're a little bit wider body on it, taller body. And we'll put 2 of those on a line, and then we'll fish for striped bass on those, and they love those too. I mean, any of that rubber bait,
Yeah, I don't know. I've never had the same kind of success with these. I mean, I've bought so many of these that looks similar to this. I have never had the success that I had for it was called the Gizzit. Yeah. The Gizzit. Yeah. The Gizzit. I've never found anything as successful as the Gizzit. And the last time that I actually found them, I bought the whole shelf out. I pulled every one of those packages off the shelf. I bought every one of them. They were like $2 or $3 a package, and I bought every one of them. And it was like, have you ever had something in your tackle box that you savor, that you don't let anyone else use that, and you try to make it last for as long as you can, and then you get down to the very last one, and you're like, man, I don't know if I want to use this. This is my last one.
Yeah. I got a couple of those deep diving Rapalas, and they've got the longer bodies on them, and I just hate losing one. I mean, it never fails. Every season I'll lose one, but I have a hard time letting anybody borrow them.
You know what my grandpa used?
Yeah.
You know what my grandpa used to say?
What's that?
My grandpa used to say, if you're not losing tackle and bait, you're not fishing.
Well, there you go. So a story about my grandfather. He had a houseboat on the Mississippi from 1950 to 1980. And he would take everybody in our town here. We have a big town, and he would take everybody in the town fishing with him. And he would go all the way from Minnesota, sometimes clear down to Louisiana, but
oh wow,
all the way down the Mississippi, through the locks and dams and everything. And at night, when they were heading down the river, he would throw out. He had this big piece of light chain built, and it stuck on the ends of his houseboat, and it was just dragged the bottom. And then he would bring that up, and I mean, he would come back with thousands of friggin' hooks and lures, just dragging the bottom.
Really? Hey, Shane. Good morning. How are you?
Morning. I had a quick Iowa story for Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Lived on the land up there at Lansing for a while when I was a kid,
Okay.
right there on the Mississippi, and where
Okay,
they have the
okay.
boat docks that drive down off in there, so you can take your boats in the summer.
Yep.
We drive the car or the pickup right down on the river, on the ice, right out to the middle. My mom's husband would do donuts out there on that crap and everything.
Oh,
just
hell
like
yes.
And we just go out there
Yes.
and just park, walk about 15 feet, drill a hole, and fish most of the day, and then drive off with all our catch. It was a lot of fun. And we'd
Oh, my
use just
God.
3-pound test, and we'd be pulling out 10, 15-pound fish. But that river there
Yeah.
is so swift under that ice. They say if you fall off through there, they may find you 3 or 4 miles down the river. It's just crazy.
No doubt. It's wild how fast that river is at different points. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, they dropped a bowling ball off the bridge one time, and it went through the ice, and they found it 2.5 miles downriver. That's a bowling ball.
Jeez.
Wow.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, the other little quick story I was going to say is y'all were talking about crappie because, it's a good little catch. We'd set up what they have crappie rigs with those spinner baits that you was
Yeah.
talking about. We still
Yeah.
use those here. We can still find them here. And we'd set up 2 or 3, 4 rigs on one line and just drop it over the edge of the little bridge out here where we live. And you could pull out 3 and 4 or 5 all at the same time. And you pull it out. Sometimes there'll be some small ones with some big ones. You just throw them back all day long. And our limit out here is 64 a day. So you'd have to
Oh,
stop
is
after
that right?
64.
Yeah.
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 But I'm going to tell you what, 64 crappie, that's a lot of fish.
That's a
That's a
lot of
lot.
fish.
That's a lot of-
fish.
That's a lot of cleaning. And back in the early 90s here where I'm from, down on the Snake River in those reservoirs, Shane, we used to take 5-gallon buckets and coolers, and there would be times we come back with over 200 crappie. And it was fun catching them, but I know my dad get irritated because he'd have to do almost probably 98% of the cleaning. I'd try to fillet them, but I wasn't good at it, so Dad would do it. And you could imagine having to fillet 250 to 500 crappie in a go. It was we used to be able to bring back a lot of fish.
Yeah, that's 4 or 5 hours of filleting. That'll wear a man out.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you a good. I'll tell you a good story. We used to catch quite a few fish like that, and then my grandfather he could fillet them like they had zippers on them. I mean, he could just. But then you put all the heads off to the side and then all the skins. My grandfather, now he was a farmer. Okay, so he would fill these old tin buckets full of the heads. And then if he had like a tree or something that was starting to fail or starting to die off, now he told me a story that this was this was what Indians did. Now I believed him, but I didn't know. And he would take those friggin' heads and bury them by the tree. And by God, that tree would come back after time. I mean, it's just crazy. But every time we had a bucket of heads, he would walk, he was an old farmer. He'd just walk out real slow with these 2 buckets, and then he'd grab his shovel over by the tree, and he'd go dig a little hole and throw those fish heads down in there and just pack them back up. And it's just like, oh my God. But I didn't know if he was doing it just to get rid of the fish heads so that the stray cats wouldn't get after them, or, but by God, those trees would come back. Now, I don't know.
I think it's high in iron. Is
yeah.
why it helps the trees.
I
That's
don't
what I
know,
was
man.
told.
I don't know. It worked. It was weird.
it worked. So here's this is Gizet's one of their websites, and here's some of their shads that they have. And I've tried to use every one of these things, but I'm always looking for the one that looks like a little baby trout with a little pink stripe or pink belly. Those ones seem to work the best in our area of fishing. But those are what the little shads look like on the hook. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about, but maybe some of the viewers have never seen these before. My dad likes using the real long black leeches.
Yes.
The bass,
Oh, God, yes. Yep.
the bass seem to love the black leech,
The bass
especially
love
in his
those. Yeah.
in his pond or anywhere we fish. My dad always has a black leech with him. Always.
Yep. Okay, so when you're up there in Idaho, now down here in Iowa, we have tons of night crawlers, and then we have a lot of mealworms. What do you guys use for? And then of course, like stink bait for catfish and that type of stuff. But what do you guys use them for? Well, and then we use minnows too, but they don't like us using minnows much anymore because that's how these invasive species are getting back, because they're mixing in with the minnows when they
Gotcha.
when they farm them. So they don't like those invasive species getting back in. So they kind of don't like the minnows anymore. But what are you guys using up there for live bait? Shad, of course.
Yeah, I use a lot of worms all year round. I always take worms with me no matter what. No matter what, I take worms because you just never know. When it comes to catfishing, and I don't know if I got to be careful about what I say here. I don't want to incriminate myself. But when it comes to catfishing, we'll typically use chicken guts.
Yep.
My friend Francis, he just called me last weekend. I'm going to call him and tell him, I call him Catfish Francis. I've never been fishing with this guy, and I've never been skunked when it comes to catfishing with him. He's like the catfish master. And what we used to do the night before we go catfishing, or the day before we go catfishing, we go out at night, out in the desert in southern Idaho, and we go jackrabbit hunting. And we go out there and we blast ourselves half a dozen jackrabbits. And then the next day, I'd lay them out in the sun and let the sun beat on those things and get them stinky. And I usually always had a box of surgical gloves in my tackle box. And then we'd throw those in the back of the truck and go down the Snake River, and we'd gut those things on the bank, and we'd use jackrabbit guts as stinky as we could get them. Let them get hot in the sun and bake and get to stinking real bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I tell you what, that was kind of his little secret. And I'm telling everybody right now, maybe you've used it, maybe you haven't, but down on the Snake River, the catfish love jackrabbit guts. Now, one other thing that we tried, him and I tried, and this is a shame, but it works. So we'd have some old deer meat in the freezer. And so we'd take it out, and I'd throw it up on the tin roof for about 2 or 3 days in the hot sun and let that stuff bake and get nasty. And then we'd take it down on the river, and what he'd do is he'd cut it in strips that were about 4 or 5 inches long, 6 inches long. And when he would bait his hook, he'd bait his hook, and then when it was in the current of the river, it'd sit there and do this. That deer meat would sit there and go like this. And I go, Francis, what are you doing? He goes, well, Mike, I put it on there so when the catfish come up to smell it, it'd sit there and tickle its nose. I'm not kidding. He'd catch catfish. He'd catch catfish like that. And I started using it. I started using it too. But he'd tell me all the time, well, Mike, I'm just tickling the catfish's nose and make him interested in it.
All right, guys, I'm going to bounce. I just had a quick story, and I wanted to share with Hawkeye that, I've done some Iowa fishing up there.
That's sweet. That's sweet.
All
Y'all
right,
have a good
thanks for sharing with us, Shane.
Yep. Y'all have a good one.
Anyway, that's some of the bait that we use here, especially for the cat fishing. That is Canadian Patriot. It is a lot of work for the cat fishing, but we usually would average around 10 to 14 pound cats. So I know it seemed like a lot of work to catch the catfish, but we'd come back with a half a dozen catfish that weighed over 10 pounds. And when we'd fillet those things out, I mean, each one of those slabs on each side of the catfish weighed probably over a little over a pound. So, we got 10, 15 pounds of catfish and listen, this was back in my drinking days. So to go out jackrabbit hunting with a flashlight and a 12-pack of beer was also fun. So to go get the bait was a lot of fun. Hot dogs work too. I've used all kinds of bait. Hot dogs definitely work for catfishing.
Yeah, they do.
But I used to go out and we'd get a 12-pack of beer. We'd duct tape a flashlight to our shotguns, and we'd go out and we'd go jackrabbit hunting. We'd shoot a couple jackrabbits, and then that's what we'd use for our bait. So
Never seen a jackrabbit other than pictures. They must be pretty. It must be pretty cool. I've hunted a lot of rabbits, but the jackrabbits look kind of fun.
I shot one 2 years ago with my A10, and that was a lot of fun. that thing jumped 3 feet straight up and then flopped dead when I hit him. Just boom. So yeah, that is a hunting and fishing story. You're right, Shane. That is a hunting and fishing story. And my friend Rob, up on the Salmon River with a jet boat, he offers he calls it a gun and rod tour. So I've said this on the show before. He'll take you out on the either on the Snake or the Salmon River on a jet boat, and you can fish, and then he'll take you and drop you off on the beach up certain draws where he knows that there are chuckers, and you bring your shotgun and you get to go chucker hunting the same time you're fishing. So it's a hunt and a fish at the same time, which is a lot of fun. All right, well, I'm going to roll over into hunting real quick because I got some photos that were sent in to me by Debbie Post. Let me share this. This. I'm going to ask you a question here in just a second. I want to ask you if you've done this before. So here's a photo. This was sent in this morning by Debbie Post. It says, just like her dad, Holly found her dad's follow her dad's footsteps. It says it's one of OKC's finest. Hog was killed near Cushing, Oklahoma in 2018. Those are some nice looking hogs right there. And I've had wild hog barbecue down in Texas, and they're delicious.
Oh my God. Yeah.
There's another hog there. That's a nice looking one there too. I bet you that one's probably, I don't know, 250, 300 pounds. Maybe those are probably, I don't know, 200 pounds, maybe a little more. So my question to you, Hawk, is: have you ever been hog hunting? And if so, have you ever hunted one with a bow?
I have never been. I've got 3 friends up here that go down and hunt wild pigs every year, and I have not gone with them, so I have not hunted them. They're not in Iowa. We don't see any of them in Iowa.
You don't want them. You don't want them.
Well, yeah, I know they're pretty invasive.
Yeah.
And my grandfather raised hogs, so I know what, I've been around boars and just domestic boars. So they were pretty wild. My grandfather used to used to raise hell with me when I'd be climbing on the fence where the boars were, because they'll attack you, they'll kill you,
Yeah. And then they'll eat you.
And then they'll eat you. Yeah.
They'll eat you.
So, and my grandfather had hogs all his life on the farm. So, and he raised a ton of them. That's really where he made all of his money. And, but the wild hogs, I would really love to hunt them. I'm kind of hoping before I die, I get to go on one of those trips, because they have a blast doing it. And, he comes back with the meat, and I've had that meat, and it is just really enjoyable. I mean, it is pretty incredible.
Now, Craig the Hunter has a special breed of dog for that, right?
I have seen, I've heard him talking about that. Yeah.
So
But
his
are
dogs.
there that many hogs in Louisiana?
Oh yeah, there's lots of hogs in Louisiana. So his dogs are bred to where they come up behind the hog and they grab them by the hind legs, and they're like a pit bull. They got the lock jaw, so once they lock on something, it's not hard to. I mean, it's hard for them to let go. And he's told me stories where the dogs grab the hog, and he can like hop on the hog and use a knife. Let's just put it that way. We won't get too graphic, but he'll use a knife.
They can actually disable the hog. They can take the hog to it.
That's what he claims. I got John. He's in the chat. I'll drop the link for you real quick, John, because he's not far from Craig, and maybe John can maybe give us a little more information on how that all plays out. But the other thing Craig was telling me that he does with the dogs too is he'll grab a hog or two with the dogs, and then tie them up, hog tie them. Okay, pun intended. He'll hog tie them, and then he'll take them home, and he's got a pen that he puts them in, and he'll put them in the pen at his house, and then feed them grain for a week or two before he harvests them to get a little bit of that gamey taste out of the meat.
Yeah.
So he does it. He does it that way. He hunts them with a bow. He hunts them with a crossbow. I'm sure there's probably not a way out there that Craig the Hunter doesn't hunt hogs. So yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah,
I'd definitely like to see the dogs in action. And I want to get good enough with the bow that I could bow hunt a hog. I think that'd be really cool.
Let me see if I can find it here real quick.
Good morning, John. I want to get good enough with the bow that I could bow hunt a hog.
Hang on. Can you hear me?
What's up, John?
Yep, we can hear you, John.
Hey, Hawkeye. Yeah, Hawkeye, Louisiana is loaded with hogs. And I probably missed that conversation that Craig had with you, Mike. But,
well, I don't want to misspeak, but it seemed like he was telling me, well, he's got that special breed of dog, and I think Shane was trying to tell me what breed of dog that was. I don't remember what breed of dog it is. Anyway, the dog reaches or grabs the hog by the hind leg and locks onto him, and then I think Craig said that he's been able to take him down with a knife at that point.
right.
Or he'll hog tie him and take him home and put him in a pen and feed him grain for a couple of weeks to try to get that gamey taste out of the meat, and then he harvests them. I know he does that for a fact.
Right. I'll give you a story. Over in one of the smaller parishes where there's a lot of Cajuns that hunt hogs and use dogs. I went on a hunt with those guys one time, which started out as a squirrel hunt, and then it turned into a hog hunt. What these guys did, and there's probably several different breeds of dogs that you can actually hunt hogs. But these guys, they used Catahoula curs, Rottweilers, and pit bulls.
I think it's the Catahoula. I think that's the one that he's got. I
The
know it's
reason
not a
why
pit, and it's not a Rottweiler, but it's similar to a pit.
right. The reason
Okay, John. Hey, John, how do
Yeah.
you explain to the game warden? How do you explain to the game warden that you're out hunting squirrels with a 308?
Oh, no. No, there's you don't have to go hunt hogs in any specific time. You just, so we just showed up one morning and made a squirrel hunt, took care of the squirrels, and hey, let's put the dog.
I got you.
Yes.
I figured that's what you did.
one,
I wanted
yeah, I
to give
get
you
what
some
you're
hard time.
But what the Catahoula's do is they're very fast dogs, extremely fast, and they can run the hogs down, but they don't have the muscle to per se to take on a large hog. So what these guys would do is release the Catahoula's, and when they would hear them bay a hog, they would go in there and then they would open their other cages and they would let the rots and the pits out. Those are the tanks. They let the tanks
man.
out.
I'm
'Cause
coming
the
to
pits-
Louisiana. I'm coming
Pits
to
get up on
Louisiana.
them and they pin them down, and the rots get on them and they just pin them down, and you're right. They lock onto them. And that's it.
No shit. That's got to be crazy.
Now,
So
let me
how
tell
do
you, let me
they,
tell you what these
are they really well trained?
Oh, very well trained, but there is a fine art to doing this, because if they screw it up, there's going to be dead dogs everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a fine art how they do this. But let me just tell you what they do. These guys are crazy. First of all, these guys are crazy, and there's a lot of people involved in
Yeah.
this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, which I don't drink and hunt. I never have. But when they capture a hog, they will run the four-wheelers up on top of him, whatever they have to do to pin him down. And what they do, if it's a boar, they'll castrate him right there on the spot. And they'll take some paint in a brush or a roller, and they'll paint the back of that hog a specific color. That specific color coincides with the month that it is. So they have a chart. So the reason they do that is to release the hog, and they give it so much time. I think it's a month or up to a month. And they will, if they see the hog after that given time, they'll shoot it and then they'll process it, because all the glands are dried up in the hog once he's castrated. So the meat's not as stinky. And that's the reason they do that. So they don't kill them. They don't kill them right there, because those guys won't eat them. And we're talking 300-pound hogs these guys are going after. So this one day that I went on this, and I only went one time. I'm not going back. So they get on this hog, and the hog gets bayed up. The Catahoula's got them bayed. These other guys roll in with their bikes with trailers on them, and they release the rots in the pits. So we're talking, on that day, there was like 15 dogs total, something like that. Might have been 20. No, it's about 15 dogs. And the pits and the rots just ran right over the Catahoula's, and they pinned the hog down. Well, this hog that they wind up getting was close to 400 pounds. So one of those crazy guys, he runs his four-wheeler on top of the hog to help pin him down, because the dogs were struggling with him. And the hog got his head loose, and he made one swipe, and he laid one of the pit bull's shoulders open. I mean, just sliced it. So the owner of the dog runs in there, and he grabs him and pulls him off of him. And him and this other guy, I look over there, and these guys have a tackle box with a first aid kit in it, and he's sewing the dog back up because the dog's bleeding. He's doing it right on the spot. So he sews the dog up, and he has to put him in a pen, because he'll go right back on the hog.
Yeah.
So it was really nerve-wracking. And these guys are all around this hog, and I'm like, man, you guys are crazy. You're crazy. But now the real funny part is before they totally release the hog and let him go, they have to separate the dogs, because once the dogs have no hog to grab, they will turn and fight each other immediately. They will start fighting each other. And
Wow.
that's the art, the fine art of. They have to do everything is done in a specific way to catch that hog and do what they do with it. It's incredible. And they do it
Wow.
all the time. They do it all the time.
Well, I'm coming down, John. I'm gonna get together with you and Craig, and I wanna go on one of these hunts, and I want to video one of these hunts and put it on the show. And I've got so check this out, Hawkeye. I ran into a friend of mine who lives about 2 blocks from me here, and he's a big hunter here. His whole family are major hunters here in town, and I know that he cat hunts in the wintertime. So he was out in his yard, and I stopped, said hello to him a couple days ago, and I said, "Hey Jesse, I got this outdoor show that I do on YouTube." I said, "I've got a lot of invites all over the country to go hunting, to go fishing." I said, "How would you feel about if I brought a couple of guys from the Midwest to fly out here and go cat hunting with us because he's got dogs?" And he goes, "All right." And I said, would you take us hunting? Would you run your dogs? He says, "Well, I would, and I will. And if I can't, I know somebody who will." So I'm putting together a cat hunt for probably January, February here in my hometown with Jesse. And I'm going to go talk to him again and try to, guarantee that whole thing because he has a lot of fun doing it. And he'll tree a cat for us with dogs, and we can harvest the cat. And these things are anywhere from 6 to 7 foot long.
You talk about a mountain lion?
We're talking about a lion. We're
Wow.
talking about a
Yeah.
lion. We're talking about a lion. Yeah,
We
lion. And
don't have
video.
those around here. I mean, there's instances where some have been seen in Louisiana, but not very often.
We
Yeah, we
had one last year that
Yeah.
guys were taking pictures of that don't know how it got here.
And like you said, John, it's a fine art to this because dogs can end up dead when you're hunting a lion. And he said the last one he hunted, the cat would not go up the tree, and he sat there and fought all the dogs. The dogs come out of there with scratches all over them and everything, and he had to jump in the middle of the lion and the dogs to tree the lion. He had to jump in there to tree the lion. And he said after that bitch wouldn't tree, that he just decided to harvest her because he doesn't always harvest. He works his dogs, and he enjoys just going out, and it's an art to it, and he doesn't always harvest them. But that one, he said that one had to go to the freezer.
I used to watch this show. What was it called? Mountain Men or something. It used to come on the A&E channel. And they had one of the guys on there. That's what he did. He would have these big pack of dogs, and he used to run mountain lions with them and tree them. And I used to sit there and wonder, how does he not lose dogs? Because those mountain lions are fierce.
Yeah, they are. They're big too.
Well, I'll tell you what, about 10 years ago, a buddy and I, we were out pheasant hunting, and we came across this big brush pile. It was right along the edge of a little river. And the dog decided to go in that brush pile because my friend called him in there, and it was a Vizsla, and it was one of the short-haired Vizslas.
Mm-hmm.
So this dog went into that brush pile, and then all of a sudden this dog just started whining and barking and crying, came out, and she was just bloody all over the face. And then all of a sudden we see this coon come out of the brush and went down into the river.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, it damaged the shit out of the front of that dog.
Coons are really tough. Now, it takes a smart dog to handle. If you get the right dog, coon has no chance because he knows where to go.
You're right.
But
But you take a bird dog doesn't even know what a coon is.
Right.
An
inexperienced dog, and I have a chocolate lab, and I would never let him try to go after a coon because I know he'd get his butt tore up, and it wouldn't turn out good.
Hey guys, I'm gonna unplug my headphone set here for a minute. Tell me if you can still hear me. Hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear
I
you.
can't hear
Yes.
you guys. All right, hold on. Let me reboot this because I got a video for everybody. So hold on just a second. Let me reboot this. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Still?
Yes.
Okay, I can hear you. All right. So here we go. I found a video. You guys are going to want to see this. So this is what I looked up was use dogs to hunt hogs.
A lot of people don't know this, but the best way to make money with it.
Give me just a second here. All right, here we go. Oh, of course, advertisement. This is going to be cool. I've never seen this done, Hawk. So this is all new to me. Can you guys give me a thumbs up if you can hear the volume when I push play?
Amazon in 2021 is not by selling physical products
All right.
on Amazon like everyone thinks. I know that might come as a shocker and that might sound crazy. How do you even make money with Amazon?
This is graphic. Disclaimer. Warning, warning, warning. Warning.
G'day, it's Brendan here from Life's a Bore. The clip that you're about to watch is just small snippets of the over 50 hog hunting films I've compiled over the past 20 years. If you like what you see, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. And be sure to stick around right to the end of this clip where I've got an exclusive offer just for you where you can see even more. But for now, let's go hog hunting.
Those are some crazy ass dogs.
Okay, I'm going to stop that right there because I'm going to pull up another video real quick. I want to make a couple of points, okay? First point is I want everybody who's watching the show to realize that these are not the hogs that you see on a hog farm in Iowa. These aren't the domestic.
No.
These are not the domestic little warm and cuddly Charlotte's Web hogs
Yeah, this no.
that they raise in Iowa. Okay, these are
No,
wild hogs.
no.
These are an invasive species that breeds like rabbits. And I don't know, John, maybe you can tell me. They drop at least, I would say, probably at least a minimum of 2 litters a year, which could be anywhere from 2 piglets all the way up to probably 18 to 20 piglets
That's
per
correct.
litter.
Yeah, that's about right.
And so 2 litters a year, they could put out 40 hogs or more. One sow could probably do 60 piglets a year. These hogs they root and dig and destroy the farmer's land. They destroy airports. They
kill wildlife.
trees. They kill wildlife. They do a lot of destruction. So I want to make that clear first to a lot of you who are watching that video and they say, "Oh, wow, poor pig." And the second thing that I want to point out is I noticed that all hunting dogs usually have radio collars on them so you can track them. But it looked like to me, and I don't know anything about this. This is the first time I've even really looked into it. Looked like a lot of the dogs were wearing Kevlar vest on them, kind of like a bull rider, probably to protect them. I would imagine from the tusks. And the third point I want to make is these are some crazy ass sons of bitches out there. Grabbing
they
these hogs,
are. That is
grabbing
the-
these hogs by the
Yes.
by the hind leg, by the
Yes.
tail. But the craziest part, this is the craziest part. And Craig the Hunter, if you're watching right now or you watch this thing later, I'm putting you in the boxes of crazy too. But these guys were wearing shorts. They were wearing shorts doing this. What's wrong with you? You're out there with these hogs with tusks and you're wearing shorts. I don't know. Just some data points. Go ahead, gentlemen.
Hey, John, I got a question.
Yeah.
So because the hogs are so invasive and there's so many of them, do they let you hunt them year round?
Year round at night. Now you do have to it's a little different on management land versus private land. I do think there's some kind of permit for the night hunting. I don't do it, but there's no limit. There's no weapon you cannot use.
No shit.
I mean,
That's crazy. Nice.
You can go out there with your AR-15 with a 30-round clips and let them fly.
I'll be damned.
And
then do you have to tag them?
no.
And there's no limit. So
Not here. Mm-mm. That's how serious the problem is.
Yeah.
When the wildlife and fisheries tell you, go kill them, kill all you want. Be safe.
And here's another story that I did months and months ago when we first started doing this channel that David told us. He said he was hog hunting one time in Texas or somewhere, and the hogs started chasing them. And you're gonna love this, Hawkeye. They jumped in the back of the pickup truck to get away from the hogs, and the hogs hit the truck and pushed the truck over 2 or 3 feet, moved the truck 2 or 3 feet sideways when the hog hit the truck. And they were in the bed of the truck.
I believe it.
Now that's crazy.
I've seen a car hit a big ass boar that got out of a pen, and it has totaled the car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Shane made the comment that the pants can get hung up on the tusks. So maybe that's why they go with shorts on, but I still think he's right. I mean, you'd sure hate to get hung up, but man, I don't know what's worse, getting hung up or getting your legs slashed wide open with the tusk. I'd say it's all crazy. Any bit of it's crazy.
I'm not doing it. Now, like I said,
but it sounds fun. It sounds fun.
I went on one
John,
of those.
I got another question when you get a chance.
Sure, go ahead, man.
So when they do you hunt with dogs?
No, Hawkeye, I don't hog hunt. I don't.
Oh, you don't hog hunt?
No,
I was just wondering. So when they train those dogs, do they train them as a group so that they know that they have to work together?
Are you familiar with rabbit? How they train rabbit dogs?
Yes. Yes.
It's similar. It's similar. in
Okay.
that.
Okay.
They
Okay.
may,
okay.
you know, some of those big time guys, they'll even have domestic pigs in a pen, and they'll train
Yeah.
the dogs on the scent and, you know, get them
Gotcha.
to run. You know, like
Gotcha.
rabbit hunters, they'll put rabbits in this great big pen and they'll
Yep,
train the
yep,
dogs
yep,
to chase
yep.
the rabbit around.
Yep.
And
So
Yep.
Shane says that if you get hung up, you're dead, and I believe that. And Brian is asking a question, John. Do people use plot hounds for hunting hogs?
what is a plot hound?
I don't know what a plot hound is. I can look it up as soon as we get done watching this next video real quick. But I want to show you guys. I want to show you guys a video of hunting lions with dogs, and this could be a little annoying with the hound dogs howling. But we'll watch a few minutes of it. I'll probably have to fast forward to the part where they tree the lion. But let's watch this for a few minutes.
Hey guys. No dogs. You guys ready? Just take it.
You know why it's buffering.
And up and down hills for about 2 miles. And you can see down in there.
Oh, come on.
God, I hate you. I hate YouTube commercials.
Take it out of you. Go get it. Go get it.
Jesus, look at the size of those paws.
Some of the paws are as big as a man's hand.
I'll be damned, man. That's crazy.
So they got GPS on their hounds.
All right, so we're 5 miles into the day, according to GPS. Had about, just shy of a mile hike. And then we've been chasing this cat for about a little over 4 miles now. So the dogs are about another mile ahead of me right now. So these are actually the hills we've been running up and down all day. I don't know if you can truly appreciate just how steep those are.
So by God's creation, by design, a lot of the cats have small lungs, and so they can go fast spurts by short distance, really fast to take game down. But the reason why they hunt them with hogs is those cats, they can't run forever. Their lungs can't do it. So when the dogs catch up to them, that's usually when they'll be treed, because the cat is just not made for long distance running by design.
I always wondered why that was.
Yeah.
And why
So-
they just didn't keep running, you know.
Yeah, they can't keep running because of their lungs. Their lungs can't
Oh.
handle it, and then they'll tree like even a domestic cat. You know, when there's a dog in the house, the cat will jump up on the back of the couch or climb up high. So it's by design. So when
Mike,
he says that this cat's been going for 4 miles, it's about time for it to look for high ground, because it can't go much longer.
so Mike, when you've hunted cats, once they let the dogs go, how far do they typically have to chase a cat before they tree them? I mean, how far would you have to walk?
It depends on the cat. I mean, I know my friends, sometimes the dogs get out and go half a mile, and the cat jumps right up in a tree. You know, it just depends. Each situation is different. I mean, this guy here says he spent, most of the morning. They started at daybreak, and they spent 4 hours tracking through a foot of snow on this cat. So
Well,
can
and
go
up and down the mountain. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah,
I pheasant hunted for 4 hours before and walked, several miles, but I can't imagine walking, he's already talking that he's walked 4 miles already and the dogs are ahead of him by a mile. I can't imagine walking 5 miles I can imagine it, but that's a lot of work, man.
Well, Hawkeye, that's a young man's game. That's not an old
And
man.
yeah, no, you're so right.
And these cats are smart too. So they don't just run in a straight line. They don't run in a straight line. They zigzag and they'll circle back and they'll try to mislead the dogs. They'll try to mislead the dogs. These cats they are smart animals. They are not stupid. They don't just run in a straight line. And they're forward thinkers. So as they're running, they're always looking ahead and see where they're going to go, what's going to lose their scent. I mean, these things they're a formidable adversary when you're out there in the woods trying to track these babies down. They're not idiots by any means.
Mike, do the dogs know enough? Do they have enough training that they know they have to stick together?
No,
They can't go off one at. Because
no,
wouldn't a cat take a dog one-on-one?
Oh, absolutely. Cat will take on 4 or 5 dogs.
No
The
shit.
cat okay, so the old saying when you back an animal or you back a cat in a corner, look out. That's when they're the most dangerous. These lions, when you get a lion in a situation where it can't tree, those dogs are in trouble. And these dogs are just like the hog dogs. They're so stupid to say that they don't know they don't know to back off and give the cat room, or they don't know to quit when they're ahead. They'll keep after this cat until they die. And these cats are so smart and elusive, they'll get a dog lost. They'll run dogs 4 or 5 miles and circle back around behind them, zigzag. And I know friends of mine that have spent 2 days looking for their dogs because their dogs are so lost in the woods. And they got GPS tracking on them and all kinds of stuff. And I've seen hunters out there driving up and down dirt roads for days looking for their dogs because these dogs are bred and they will run a cat until they flop over dead. They won't stop. So if the cat gets away, what's that?
What type of dogs are they?
I'd have to research that. It's Beagle. Beagle is one breed.
It's that large beagle, that big.
Yeah, and all kinds of hounds like Red Bone.
Like Jack Russell?
I don't know about Jack Russell, but Red Bone. Red Bone is another one that we have around here. Blue Tick, I think, is another one. Same type of dogs you use for coons and other things too. But these dogs, they will not stop. And then once the cat loses them, then they're lost in the woods, and then they're subject to hypothermia. They're subject to dehydration. They're subject to not having food and having low energy, and they can't make it back to the road. So there are times where people do lose dogs to all kinds of different situations out there, just like the hog dogs.
Huh.
Mike, have you ever looked at the videos of, and I think it's out in Kansas they do this. It's a guy riding through cornfields, wheat fields, whatever, and he's got greyhounds in the truck, and he releases them and they run down coyotes and kill them. Have you ever seen that?
I've never seen that. No.
Google
Out here for the coyotes, we call them in, and then some of my buddies will chase them down with a snow machine and run them over the snow machine.
Yeah, Google greyhound dogs hunting coyotes, and it'll probably come up. There's video on it. It's absolutely incredible.
Let me see if I can fast forward this to the part where they tree the cat.
Their chases out of their mind, and they've obviously never chased lions with hounds. It's one of the most physical hunts you can do. Alright, just give you an idea of how steep this country is. This is where I'm hunting. Just hiked to the top of this hill chasing the dogs. And they plunged off this other side, so I get to climb another hill. So, alright, this hill right here behind me, I've already been up around the backside, clear down that way, and then down, and then came back along the river, and then we've come up this side, and now we've gone over that way. And I can still hear the dogs down there. So
that's how far he's chased them so far. Oh, for crying out loud. All right, this next part's going to get a little graphic just to let you guys know. These things weigh out at probably almost 200 pounds or better.
Wow.
150 to 2 1/4 maybe.
good girl. Good girl.
Look at how big the feet are.
Wow.
Yeah, I would hate to meet up with that.
Yeah, that'd
Unarmed.
be tough.
What a roller coaster. I don't think I have ever worked harder for
I wouldn't want to pack that back out 5 miles either.
conditions today. Oh my God, I don't even know what to say. What a hunt. Anybody who says this ain't a hunt has obviously never done it. Wow.
Look at how big this is.
All right, we got our cat, and it's a pretty good one. But the adventure's not over yet. I'm gonna go ahead and bone this one out, skin it, and pack it out like that rather than try to get it out whole, just because I'm still quite a ways back here. And considering what a nightmare it was just getting to where the cat was, I really don't want to try to drag anything out. So that's a big old kitty.
Oh, holy smoke.
It's as big as him.
All right, we got our cat, and it's a pretty good one. But the adventure's
That thing's as big as him. Those things weigh out a good 200 pounds. I guarantee you. Guarantee you.
Wow.
So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna try to do one of those hunts this winter with Jesse. if he'll be as kind to take me with his dogs. I'm gonna go out and probably almost kill myself hiking through the woods trying to chase a cat down.
Yeah, take pictures of it. I don't think I want to go on that hunt. I wouldn't make it.
No, me either. Me either.
But anyway, dog hunting with dogs is a whole nother world. That's and just so everybody's aware, hunting with dogs. You guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hunting with dogs, you got to think about this. You got food and nutrition for the dogs. You got to house them. You got to keep them up on all of their shots and make sure that they're healthy through the vet. If they do get hurt, then you got vet bills, right? So it's and these dogs, I don't know what the hog dogs would cost, but these hounds around here, I'm sure probably about $2 to $3 grand a piece. And you definitely don't go hunting with one dog. So you're going to need at least 3 or 4 of them probably. So you're into this. You could be into these dogs 20 grand real easy, hunting lions. And I'm sure the hog dogs are probably just as expensive as well. So this is something that if you decided you wanted to get into, it's not something that you need a rational decision to make. You don't just start ordering dogs online and get into this thing. You really need to think about it because it is a lifestyle. I know that these guys here in my hometown, they live with their dogs. Their dogs are an extension of their family, their kids.
Right.
And they probably take better care of these dogs than they do their own kids.
Mhm.
So it's something that you don't just think that you're going to throw some money at it and then try it for a little while and then say, oh, I didn't like it. You better make damn good sure that you're wanting to get into something like this because it's very, very expensive.
Yeah, years ago, my dad used to raise German short-haired pointers. He used to big quail hunter, and he had 3 of the finest dogs you ever want to see, and they were really good. But the cost, he spent so much time with those dogs, as much time as he did with us kids, training them, running them, feeding them, making sure they were healthy, working them. I mean, it takes a good part of your life up when you hunt with dogs.
I would have to venture to say that having dogs and that type of hunting has probably caused a lot of divorces over the years. If the wife wasn't into it with them, if the wife wasn't part of it, if she didn't like it, didn't want nothing to do with it, you got to figure they probably spend more time with those dogs than they do their wives. That could be a good thing, and that could be a bad thing. So, it's a serious business, that's for sure.
Well, down here, the majority of hunting I've done with dogs has been for rabbit hunting, and it's a lot of fun. There are places down here where you can kill in a hunt with the right number of dogs, with the right number of people. You can kill 150, 200 rabbits a day, in some areas of the state. And I'm not exaggerating that.
Now, do you eat the rabbits?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, John.
Yes.
We get a ton of people from Louisiana and Texas that come up here just to try out their dogs, just to show how good their dogs are. And I typically hunt with German Shorthairs. My next door neighbor has a whole bunch of them, and we hunt with them when we're hunting pheasant.
Yeah,
they are a joy to hunt with pheasant. And he's got the little trackers and the beepers on them. And when they're on a bird, you hear it, you just follow the noise, and there's the bird.
That's incredible. Wow. I'd love to go pheasant hunting. That's one of the bucket list things for me. We don't have pheasant down here, and
pheasant's a blast.
Well, I'll tell you, gentlemen, one of the restaurants here in town has it's called the Wild Game Feed every spring. Everybody here in town who's harvested something, over the year, we'll bring a platter of something. And it includes, they have a fish fry too, but this is a wild game. So we have elk and deer. But the craziest thing that I've ever tried at that, you pay so much to go in and eat, is lion. I've ate lion before, and you would think, oh wow, why would you eat a cat? Because why not? I wanted to try it.
What does it taste like?
Well, it doesn't taste like chicken, like everybody. Oh, it
No,
all tastes
no.
like chicken. It was a tender meat. It didn't have any gamey taste to it whatsoever. I liked it. Obviously, if I'm gonna hunt a mountain lion, I'm gonna use all of it, right?
Yeah.
We're always taught if you're gonna harvest something, you better eat it. So it was different. I can tell you that it was different. It wasn't like deer or elk or chicken or frog or gator or anything. It was different, and it wasn't gamey. It wasn't stringy. It wasn't like real muscly and tough. It was just kind of semi tender, and I don't know, tasted like cat, I guess. I mean, everybody who's ate Chinese foods probably ate cat once or twice, domestic cat,
Easy now.
and didn't know it.
Come on, Mike. I love Chinese buffet. Don't go there. Although you never see any cats or dogs around those restaurants.
Exactly,
No,
exactly.
no,
I'm
you
just
don't.
saying.
No.
So if you really like Chinese food, you've probably eaten cat before. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Well, down here we eat a lot of almost anything. So
Yeah.
we make a roux and we cook it and we eat it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and end it here today. I got to get off here and get back under my truck and get it fixed. I know my dad's
good.
waiting on me.
I'm glad
So
I'm glad you did a show today. I didn't go hunting this morning. It's been foggy the last 3 days, and we're on a heat wave right now. It's just too warm. It's 76 degrees right now. 76
Yeah.
degrees, and it's
Yeah.
it's noon here. But I get up in the morning and I go out the back door and mosquitoes are flying, and I'm just not going. I'm gonna wait for it to cool off, the next front that comes in. And yes, the deer
Absolutely.
still move, but I'm not going to do it. It's just too hot. I don't like to hunt when it's hot.
yeah,
But we have
me
to deal
neither.
with that down here. We just do.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, you have to deal with it. So, if you want to kill something, but good. I'm glad you did a show today. I was wondering.
Me
when you were
too. I'm glad you're doing one.
Yeah, I just took last weekend off. I was exhausted, and I do a lot of shows during the week, so I enjoy this one a lot, and I'm gonna try to come first of the year bring some really cool stuff, and some videos and some more guests and stuff on. So we'll be working our butts off to make this thing a little bit better for 2022.
If I decide to get my channel going, I've started it. I just hadn't finished it, and I hadn't done anything with it yet. But I'm trying to come up with a way to best utilize a channel. And I don't want to get into the political thing because you're always fighting, getting taken down. So I'm thinking I might do a little cooking, a little outdoor stuff, Louisiana style.
Hell
which
yeah.
give guys like y'all from other states a chance to come in and look at the way we do things here. And, your shows are informative here, Mike, because I get to see, and you too, Hawkeye, what you guys do over there. Because I've never been to either one of your states. So I don't know how you do things over there. And I like watching shows like that. And so
I like
think
learning.
that may be the direction I go, is just do a local state. And I can get a lot of guests on here. I can get a lot of fishermen, local fishermen and hunters that are guides and stuff like that. I could call up and probably get on a show, and it'd be pretty good. But that's
Nice.
kind of what I'm working on. I don't know when I'm going to put it together, but YouTube's so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I watch what you go through, and I just go, man, there's no way I'm doing this. So if I do it, I'm going in a direction to where it's not political, it's not religious, other than just saying a prayer. It's just try to stay out of trouble with
I think
YouTube.
you'll be fine. I think if you do that, John,
I do too.
you'll have zero problem. But with my other channel, I don't think people realize when I tell people that I put in 10 to 12 hours a day, I think they think I'm just kidding. I put in 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't really have a whole lot of time off. And this is my full-time job. I don't do anything else.
Right.
So this is how I pay my bills. This is how I feed my kid now. So I was just talking to one of my good friends last night, and he asked me what I was doing. I told him, and he goes, "Yeah, I've seen you a few times." He goes, "It's a pretty good show." He goes, I couldn't do what you do." He's an electrician, so he goes out and works every day. And I said, "Well, it's different. You know, it's definitely different, but I enjoy it. I think it's a calling for me, and I hung up my tools and I'm doing this. So
Yeah.
it's this is my way of life now. But I'll support you, John. You get your channel up, I'll throw a shout out.
Yeah, I'm going to kick it around some more, and when I figure out exactly what I do, I'll probably reach out to you and ask you for some tips or something. You know.
All right, no problem. Will do.
So Hawkeye, it's good to see you.
Nice seeing you, John.
Yeah, Mike, it's been great, man. I enjoy the show.
All right, you guys have a great Saturday. We'll see you tonight,
Okay.
8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6
I'll be
Mountain Time.
watching.
All right, guys.
See you guys.
All right, folks. What a great Saturday. I was glad Hawkeye and my dad called in, and John. I hope you guys enjoyed the videos that we shared today on YouTube. Some of it was a little graphic, but it kind of gives you an idea of hunting with dogs and what that's all about. That's just a little brush of it. So it's very intense. It's a very intense hunt. Got to be on your toes. It's different from pheasant hunting, deer hunting, any of that stuff. It's a very, very intense hunt. So I hope to experience that at least once in my life. Hog hunting and lion hunting. We'll see what 2022 brings. I'm hoping to go on a lion hunt and then maybe a hog hunt too. So I hope to experience both of them and share that with you folks. So have a great Saturday. We'll see you back here 8 Eastern, 7 Central, and 6 Mountain Time. Love you all.